Shattered traditions fracture under love.
Dad, I'm your daughter now.
Love rewrites family codes.
This is Adriana. You respect her or you're gone?
Boss's kid is transitioning. Hey, you want to keep your kneecaps, you clap.
Treat her like a queen. We protect family. You got a problem, you leave.
You're the only one.
As you're watching this right now, an $82 billion hostile takeover is underway, and it has nothing to do with business. Netflix, the streaming giant already infamous for pushing cultural agendas into your living room, is now making its move to seize Warner Bros, HBO, and the most powerful storytelling franchises in American history. Now, if the deal goes through, the people who already control what you watch are about to control everything you think. And there's only one man standing in their way. Now, here's what's at stake. Benny Johnson rang the alarm. If Netflix acquires Warner Brothers and HBO, the Obamas, who have a 9-figure deal with Netflix, Susan Rice, who sits on Netflix board, and DNC megadonors gain control over Batman, Superman, Harry Potter, and Game of Thrones, Looney Tunes, The Matrix, Sopranos, right? Every cultural weapon Hollywood has ever created, they own it all. Jack Posobiec put it bluntly, Americans will not read a Supreme Court ruling, but they will binge watch an 8-part Netflix miniseries about it. Control the streaming platforms, and you control the minds of the masses. Analysts are calling this deal obviously illegal, designed not to succeed, but freeze competitors for 2 years while Netflix consolidates cultural dominance. It's not entertainment. This is ideological warfare. And while media empires fight to control what Americans think, there is one thing they cannot take from you: your ability to prepare. Now, this Christmas, give the gift of food security with My Patriot Supply. It's called the Buy One, Gift Two Christmas Special, and you need to jump on this. All month long, when you buy one emergency food kit, you get 2 more absolutely free, perfect for gifts. Grab a 4-week supply for yourself, and they include 2 one-week meal kits free. Now, these make fantastic gifts for anyone who loves preparedness or anyone who needs a nudge in the right direction. This offer is only available for the holiday season. Visit preparewithgary.com and grab yours today. That's preparewithgary.com. It's linked below. Now, here's who threw a wrench into their whole plan. President Trump. Enter President Trump. When asked if Netflix should be allowed to buy Warner Brothers, Trump declared he would personally be involved in that decision, citing the massive market share a combined entity would possess. And of course, right on cue, the establishment media melted down. Aaron Sorkin complained that presidents do not get involved in these decisions. But Trump is the only person standing between Netflix and total cultural domination. Meanwhile, Paramount Skydance launched a hostile counterbid at $30 a share, warning that Netflix control over sports rights and franchises would kill Hollywood and wipe out linear television entirely. So, Sorkin on Trump. Trump said yesterday he's going to be part of making a decision about Netflix transaction with Warner Brothers. Let's check in with this news clip. NEC Director Kevin Hassett.
Hey, Kevin, one other question. We've been batting around the table this morning. Was the president said just yesterday that he was going to be part of making the decision about this Netflix transaction with Warner Brothers. And at least the comment that we were making in the past is that the president, this president and presidents prior, I believe, have never at least publicly declared their involvement in these decisions. They've historically been left to the antitrust department with inside of the Department of Justice. So how different is this, and how should we think about that?
Wait a minute. Of course, antitrust division, Department of Justice. Presidents don't get involved. Well, guess what? This one gets involved. He stepped up. He's the head of that agency. He's the head of that department. He's the chief executive. So if he wants to, nose around and sniff out the monopoly, then he frickin' will. All right, Sorkin? Let's hear I bet you that Hassett's probably going to say something similar to what I just said. Let's see.
I don't think it's just rare for presidents to have opinions about big society-changing mergers. But in the end, the Justice Department is going to study things like the Herfindahl Index, the concentration in this industry, the amount of competition that is reduced because of this big merger, and what the responses of all the other companies that are playing in this space might be. That's going to be something that goes on for quite a while. And I think the president is just very interested in making sure that there's a lot of analysis to make sure that we make the right choice.
And that's because there's a law in the books against monopolies. President Trump, commander-in-chief, he's the guy who has to execute laws. That's what the executive branch does. So he weighs his opinion and says, yeah, you guys figure it out. That's your job over there. You figure out the Snuffleupagus Index, and you figure out the majority and the who did the what and where, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, yeah, they buy it. They're going to have a majority of this entire industry, much like Google has the monopoly on search, right? Anyway.
There's more to it now, though, the relationship that a company can have with the president than in past administrations. I think that's what Andrew's alluded to. Is it different than it's been in the past? Do you think the influence that President Trump?
I haven't been inside any other administration than the Trump administration, but I can say something about the Trump administration is that it's about the most transparent administration I've seen in my lifetime.
That's what we agree
with, Kevin.
That's what we decided.
And so what the other guys were doing probably, is they weren't telling you, and so it's harder to sell. But Mr. Trump let you know how he
No wonder
feels.
you couldn't. No wonder you got no answers, because they weren't talking. President Trump openly speaks about it. The Netflix Warner Brothers deal, according to MV Piers, who's that? MV Piers, columnist, editor at The Information, Wall Street Journal alumnus, longtime media reporter. He says the stupidest deal. The stupidest deal.
Streaming. This is such a stupid deal. I'm even beginning to wonder whether Netflix knows this deal will not get through, but they are just trying to screw up Paramount.
So you don't think the deal will go through at all?
I don't think there's any chance that the government is going to allow the largest streaming service to buy one of the other very big streaming services, particularly as Paramount, which was competing to buy Warner, is close to the administration and will obviously do a very intense job in arguing why this deal should be opposed. They actually admitted this morning there's an awful lot of overlap between the two subscriber groups. So this doesn't give Netflix anything except debt and the need to spend the next 18 months negotiating with the government to try to get this deal approved.
The overlap in subscribers. So let's play this out. Netflix buys it all, and they absorb all of those subscribers. They merge the systems, and then what? They lose all those people. Don't have to pay anymore because it's on all platforms. How does that work? I'm sure some, smart guy over there has got it all figured out how to keep those subscriptions running along. Here's Jack Posobiec. Says people don't read Supreme Court rulings, but they'll watch a Netflix miniseries on it.
People aren't.
I just think it's very funny how much people care about TV.
Yes, because people do. That's the point. That's the point we're making. Whether
they do,
yeah,
they just do.
Yeah, it's hugely important. Michael in our studio goes, I care. Yes,
well, where
that's
do people get their worldview from, right? People aren't going to sit and you talk about birthright citizenship, right? People aren't sitting around and reading Supreme Court rulings. They're watching Netflix miniseries, right? But they will watch a Netflix miniseries on it, or they will sit down and watch whatever HBO's got on it. So that's why it's important. It's because that's where people get their story of the world, their story of who we are, their story of who they are. It's where they get their views on religion. It's where and by the way, and studies have shown, go look at Marshall McLuhan talking about this in the 60s, that people have gotten their worldview from mass media since the 1950s on. This started with radio, then it moved to television, and today streaming is just the newest iteration of that, sort of streaming plus social media. So if you're not paying attention to who's in control of this, then you're not paying attention to who's in control of the minds of the masses. And that's what this is about. Who is in control of the minds of the masses?
Who is in control?
I just think it's very
Imagine
funny.
Imagine if that merger goes through. Smaller and even more consolidated group controlling it. One says that the Netflix bid is obviously illegal. The real strategy, freezing a top competitor for up to 2 years, weakening Warner Bros. And shifting power towards Netflix. Why do you think, Dr. Zain Hassan, why do you think Netflix is buying Warner Bros.? I'm going to guess it has to do with artificial intelligence. Okay.
A couple months ago, that the reason why Netflix is buying Warner Bros. Discovery is not because they want Game of Thrones or they want Superman. It's because of artificial intelligence. Disney announced a couple months ago that they're going to allow users and people to create their own AI-driven TikToks and Reels and content based on their libraries. Netflix does not have a library. Buying Warner Bros. Discovery creates that library. Wow. The reason for this post is not necessarily why they're buying it, but it's because even major players like this are getting ready for the AI revolution. That is what's coming in the near future, whether you believe it, whether you think it's BS, it's happening. What do you guys think? I love you guys.
It's about acquiring the library for Netflix. Netflix set to purchase Warner Brothers for $82.7 billion. Netflix is paying $72 billion in cash when Warner Brothers is worth only $60 billion. Why? Another says it's all about AI. This is the Maverick approach.
Well, so Netflix is about to acquire Warner Brothers for almost $83 billion. And this deal is bigger than what you think it is. Now, this deal includes $72 billion in cash, but Warner Brothers is only worth $60 billion. So why would they pay more than what they're worth? Well, I think I know why. It's all about AI. On one hand, yeah, you could say it's about over 100 years about content, IP, bragging rights, but it's much deeper than that. Now, not only Netflix already has a partnership with OpenAI, but other universities and tech firms for AI research and development that target computer vision, natural language processing, script analysis, casting, and visual effects, just to name a few. Which means all that new intellectual property that they have now, they can feed to their AI to learn, to create, to the likes of Superman, Batman, The Sopranos, Bugs Bunny, Harry Potter, and that's just scratching the surface. And make no mistake about it, this is a bigger push to the content creator economy, which they're targeting as well by bringing exclusive podcasts to the platform, in which the podcast industry right now is worth $38 billion and growing. Even Disney is getting in on the action. They said recently, soon the company will allow Disney Plus subscribers to create user-generated content and to consume user-generated content, aka content creators. And just to give you guys more context, the entire creator economy is worth $250 billion, and that's set to double in the next 12 months. And a bigger question is, where does this leave everybody? Being that if you're not a content creator, you're either losing your job to AI or making money with AI. And this is kind of a telltale sign, being that the US government let go over 300,000 people, UPS 48,000 people, Amazon 30,000 people, Intel 24,000 people, and the list just keeps going. All in all, this is about market share and consolidation, going from the old to the new when it comes to movies, media, music, news. Everything we come to know is changing before our very eyes. So the word of the day is reskill. Make sure you guys get in my Telegram where I teach you guys how to reskill.
You know, I remember when Netflix started. It was just, you go to their website, you pick out some new releases. They send you, you have a list of new releases. They send you the actual DVD in the mail. You watch it, you keep it as long as you want. And then when you're done, you send it back and they send you the next one on your list. I mean, that's how they started. President Trump says he would have a role in whether the proposed merger occurs. Let's see.
Should they be allowed to buy Warner Brothers? Should Netflix?
Well, that's the question. They have a very big market share. And when they have Warner Brothers, you know, that share goes up a lot. So I don't know. That's going to be for some economists to tell. And also, and I'll be involved in that decision too. But they have a very big market share.
Did he make any guarantees to you about the merger if they do merge?
No, not at all. He came up. He was in the Oval Office last week. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a great person. But he's done one of the greatest jobs in the history of movies and other things. He's got a lot of interesting things happening aside from what you're talking about. But it is a big market share. There's no question about it. It could be a problem.
That was President Trump yesterday taking questions at the Kennedy Center Honors. I think we have another clip here of the president. Let's see.
So I don't know. That met with Ted. I think he's fantastic. I think he's in the history of Hollywood has really been almost, you could say, nothing like what he's done. They have a very big market share. And when they have Warner Brothers, that share goes up a lot. So I don't know. That's going to be for some economists to tell. And also, and I'll be involved in that decision too.
Come on, guys. Look at Melania. She looks beautiful, right? We don't see enough of her. I'm glad she's out with the president.
Big market share. And he's got a lot of interesting things happening aside from what you're talking about. But it is a big market share. There's no question about it. It could be a problem.
No question. It could be a problem, he says. The Netflix Warner Brothers deal is not something that is good for consumers. Innovator capital management strategist Tim Urbanowicz says it's not politically positive for the president.
Clearly, it's. Let me just focus in on Netflix for a second. Is there any interest in, if you are long Netflix, do you stay long on this, or is this just dead money now as they are going to war with Paramount?
Well, Brian, I think this raises a lot of question marks for us on Netflix. Clearly, it's good for Warner Brothers shareholders. You look at the pop that we saw Friday, what we saw on Monday. Clearly, this is a good thing here. But when we look at Netflix, I think what was very interesting, Brian, is if you look at the president's comments about this deal, it was not favorable. And I think it really, draws back to the fact that he doesn't want prices going up for consumers. That's a very politically sensitive topic. And for us, that's really a big question mark is what is Netflix going to do here? How are they going to be able to increase prices, increase margins? I just don't see it, Brian. It's not something that would excite me as a Netflix shareholder, but obviously others have different opinions.
Tim, this is I'm reading these statements to what Netflix put out last week, what Paramount put out, and my take is, this is all BS. Of course, prices are going up. You mean to tell me if Paramount spends this amount of money to buy Warner Brothers, my cable bill is going to suddenly get cheaper?
It's not getting cheaper, Brian. The prices are definitely going up somehow, some way. And again, I think
that's exactly what I asked earlier. If this merger happens, what happens to all those subscribers, right? Oh, 2 days ago, Netflix just killed Hollywood, pulling off the most insane power move of 2025. Streaming wars are over. $82.7 billion for Warner Brothers, but nobody understands what actually happened. Oh, it looks like we have Brian Stelter.
This is something that could affect hundreds of millions of television viewers all around the world because everybody now is a streamer in one way or another, and most people are glued to Netflix already. HBO Max, one of the other big streaming platforms, would be coming together with Netflix if this deal is consummated. And right now that is a very big if because this deal is heading into an uncertain regulatory environment. But let's get into that in just a minute. First, let's talk about how...
I've had enough of you. Let's go and see. Benny Johnson says, red alert for every parent in America. Netflix is close to acquiring Warner Bros and HBO. If it closes, the Obamas, who have 9-figure Netflix deals, Susan Rice on the board, DNC megadonors gain control over Batman and Superman, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Scooby-Doo, Looney Tunes, and many others. They're already inserting trans and grooming themes into safe kids shows. Imagine what they'll do with these classics. He says, I don't want to see Batman become Antifa Man or Superman become trans man. It's a monopoly-led cultural capture. DOJ must block it under antitrust. Parents, cancel Netflix now. Don't fund the takeover. So here's the reality. Netflix is paying $72 billion in cash for an asset worth $60 billion. Why the rush? Why the overpay? Tech analysts say it's about AI training next-generation storytelling algorithms on Warner's massive library. Cultural analysts say it's ideological, turning HBO Max into Netflix 2.0, a woke indoctrination machine with a DC Comics paint job. Either way, if the merger succeeds, say goodbye to any non-ideological storytelling in mainstream media. Now, the story matters because it's not about streaming subscriptions. It's really about who controls reality. Netflix has spent years pushing cultural engineering into American homes. They've normalized agendas, rewritten history, and shaped how an entire generation views the world. Now they want to absorb the last major studio holding the line against their ideology. Warner Brothers, HBO, DC Comics, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, every franchise that still has roots in traditional storytelling. Now, if the deal goes through, Overnight, everything becomes filtered through Netflix worldview. The worldview of the Obamas and Susan Rice, Hollywood activists, Silicon Valley megadonors. President Trump says he will weigh in, and he may be the only break in the system with the authority to say stop. So here's my question. We can talk about it. Should Trump block the Netflix Warner Brothers merger? Yes or no? Let's talk about it in the comments and gear up at the Next News merch shop. You'll find it linked down below.